Hello everybody, and Justin, and welcome back to something Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei. Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei. The Management of a Novice Alchemist, I think is the title in English. A little bit late, a fair bit late. If you want to know why exactly, there's the vlog that I recorded, so refer to that if you want. In short, my schedule is all sorts of fucky-wacky, and maybe in the future it's gonna get better, but until then, it is what it is. But it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. Hasn't been that big of a deal so far, so I don't expect it to become one in the coming weeks, days, months. Regardless, regardless of that, let's focus on this, on what we're watching right now. And we are watching episode 4, or is it episode 5? Episode 5. Episode 4 was last week, and in episode 4, in the one we saw last week, Sarasa went on a little bit of an adventure to the city to sell some of the monster parts, and she found a seller, or a buyer rather, for those parts. One of those alchemists wasn't the greatest, tried to scam her a little, but thankfully she found out there's another one, and that one treated her well. So now we have a source of money. We have a very close and near source of money, and Sarasa doesn't really have to rely on her master, on her teacher for all those transactions for getting money. She can make it out on her own, essentially, which has got to be a big confidence boost for her to kind of cut the umbilical cord just a little bit more. And of course, we also got a new kitchen. Did we get a new kitchen in the previous episode, or was it even before that? I don't remember. Fuck. My memory isn't what it used to be, apparently. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Because I don't want to be, like, untruthful. But I titled the previous episode, Sarasa We Have to Cook, so yeah. Oh, no, they did get a brand new kitchen. Right. They did get a brand new kitchen, so I wasn't mistaken. And Sarasa started producing all those like magical stoves and things. So we're cooking some stoves and we're cooking in a brand new kitchen. Hopefully next time they're gonna remember to invite everybody who lives there and not just a selected few, leaving the blue one out of the equation. I'm gonna refer to her as Blue One because I can't remember her name. Was it something like Risa? I think something that starts with R, although I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna remember that eventually. Not right now, but eventually. Eventually I'm gonna learn. Anything else happened in the previous episode? Not that I recall, really. She got a couple more clients, and that's about it. So in today's episode, seeing how the previous episode was a little bit of a downtime episode after the monsters attacked, which was like high adrenaline, high intensity episode, and now we're getting a little bit of a downtime. I wonder if we're gonna continue on that downtime and it's just gonna be an episode of Sarasa making some products for the townsfolk and having tea with her friends or what have you, or are we gonna start climbing to another high intensity episode, maybe fighting other monsters, maybe, I don't know, killing the demon lord. Who knows what's gonna happen, honestly, and we won't know that until we watch it. So of course you're gonna need your subs to follow along. I'm gonna need my sound to hear what's going on. And is my camera footage a little bit delayed? I hope it isn't, but oh, yeah, well, I guess maybe it's not gonna be visible. And there's some wire that isn't quite connected well. Okay, subs, sound, support. Support me on Patreon if you want, monetarily or thrown, links in the description. Fund my new camera if you want. And if you don't want to spend any money, share my account and spread the word. that really helps a lot. And with all of that out of the way, we can start watching episode 5 of Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei in 3, 2, 1, go. Right? Right, like the pump. There was a mention of a pump in the previous episode, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can modernize the entire village. Can't you store magical power somehow? Or extract it in one way or another from, like, the surroundings or something? Besides, the magical stoves work somehow, right? They have to get magic from somewhere, so I'm assuming the pump can also get energy from somewhere. Wait, the magic stoves use... No, do they use crystals? I don't remember. Is it like a fire crystal, or is it just the inscription, the magic circle that heats up the pots and pans? Because if it's a crystal, then that would mean you can maybe create like a water crystal or an air pressure crystal or something to power the pump. If it's just a magical circle, I mean, you can create a magical circle that pumps out pressure air to power up the pump. So you could make an autonomous pump that doesn't need any magic energy input from the user. Why am I so zoomed in? It's an issue after an issue, I swear. Before I started recording, the camera froze only like twice. Now I'm not sure if it's lagging or not. And it was zoomed in because, of course. I found a cheap Elgato facecam though, so I guess I'm gonna consider buying that one. It's new, just been like put on display. So the box is kind of beaten up and the camera is dirty, but it's working, supposedly. Spite worms? Okay, yeah, insect repellent. That's useful. Although I'd think you'd rather create like insect repellent ointment or something. Not insect repellent veils. You don't need an alchemist to make that. Nope, she's hungry. Iris is her name. Not Risa, not Ria, Iris. I was very wrong. Right, she did bring some gifts. Why is my Google Assistant speaking? Cancel that. Yeah. If you can make something yourself, then of course it's gonna be cheaper. None in the area? Well, that's an issue. Maybe you can buy those fangs, though, can't you? In the alchemy store, or order them from your teacher? Hmm. Because it's super dangerous area or something? Probably brought them to that other alchemist, not to the alchemist lady. Yes, there is a scammer in the city. Okay, I'm glad that this dude isn't just a one-off that was supposed to be there to bring Sarasa down a little, but he's an actually, like, repeated character, at least to some degree. They are bats, and they use frost magic, probably. Harmless. Okay, so we're going from hunting malicious monsters to hunting just regular peaceful critters. No, probably not. I mean, yeah, she can punch a flame bear or whatever it was called, flame grizzly. So there isn't much uh, to bring danger to her. Yeah, yes, very much so. Okay, there's not gonna be any more. Oh, or that. Sure. So they aren't entirely harmless. They just aren't actively aggressive. Some different monster? Oh, bad guano. Like their shit. Yeah, don't ask. Okay, that's useful. True. You get desensitized, probably. And a potion. Just some pocket Febreze. Yeah, there was a layer of droppings, but there weren't any bats up top. The bats are here, so why were there droppings back there? Okay, so you want the old ones. The bigger the older. Okay. So I was correct about the size. Okay. Like a tree stump. That's cool. That's very in-depth. Hmm? You're gonna get frozen. Yeah. Okay, it's one thing to touch them, it's another to get bitten. Cue all of them wake. Oh. Okay. Iris really is the comic relief, isn't she? Let me guess, they're gonna discover something more malicious inside? Or are they just gonna discover a really, really old bat? Really, really old bats. With long blue fangs. Probably don't wanna wake them up. Why does she even need the others? She can take them out in a single shot. Just go solo. Or, yeah, just do that. Why even the swords? Just the air wall is enough to just get rid of them all. What about the rest of them? Are you just gonna discard the pelts, the meat? Or is it also useful? Okay, they're magically enhanced. Oh, you're gonna. A lot. Okay, yeah, not much, actually. Another product. Hey, another thing to stock at her store. She just needs enough for a fridge. Everything goes towards her debt. True. She's not wrong here. What about the rest? Did she really just discard the bodies? Cooling hats? She was planning to make like insect repellent veils. But is that it? Or are those cooling hats, seeing how they have the snowflake icon and the bat elements? Okay, so it is a cooling hat. Prevents heat stroke, for example. Yeah. Can't you see the wings? Is that open or is that closed? I can never tell. I guess it means open, since he came in. Yeah, she already has a devout clientele, essentially. Didn't you have them made already? Okay, so she can't handle worms. Curious. Making some gloves. What do you mean? Okay, so she did make the veils. Meaning? It's just gloves? What do you mean unsettling sight? It's gloves. Am I not getting the joke somehow? Yeah, I heard Tenpo Keiei. Someone say that. Okay, so she's wondering how to make the life in the village better for everybody. I like it. I like it. I really do like when I want to say isekais, but it's not an isekai. When stories, fantasy stories, have an element of like development to them. Yeah, you need the money flow somehow. Somewhat expensive cookie. That's plenty of cookies, actually. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You need external trade. To the what, though? Yes, but what can those villagers do? She get just 2 cookies for nothing. Okay, cookies for the wife. Yeah, you could be selling those. Okay. Yeah, if everybody has a hat, then nobody needs a hat anymore. L'Oréal Paris is gonna get a cookie. Or is everybody getting one? Everybody's getting a cookie. Good end. And resell them. Yeah. Sounds like a plan. Yeah. Yep. Although her loss, I guess, in materials, in resources. Okay, so we got an export product, and we got some economy going on in the city. People can earn some money by making hats. A helmet. It looks like it's made of wicker or something. It made metallic sounds, but it looks like wicker. I mean, it's a nice attempt for sure. And she's in red again. Okay. There's never anything after credits, so I guess we can safely just stop it right here and go through it again, shall we? There's a couple of moments I want to make mention of. First of all, the pump. The cooling hats work on their own. The gloves need a little bit of energy, I guess. But even that random dude was able to put enough energy into them for them to work. The stoves don't need any magician, any alchemist, anybody with like aptitude to operate them. But the pump does. What makes the difference? How is the stove different from the pump? How is the cooling hat different from the gloves? Is it because the gloves and the pump use like purely alchemy, some inscription that needs an input of energy to be kept running? Meanwhile, the stove and the cooling hat use like monster materials, and they make the source of the power? Probably. I guess that could be the distinction. Uh-huh. Yeah, figuring out things that will be useful to everybody that we can sell. The anti-bug veils. Do they even need alchemy? Okay, what did they get? What did they need the spite worms for? Yeah, the number of worms as it's getting hotter. I'm assuming it's like spring going into summer right now. Spite worms. Why spite worms? Making insect repellent veils. So, do you use spite worms to make like insect repellent, like a chemical or whatever, to put into those veils so that they are somehow enchanted, somehow magical by using monster parts? Monster parts coming from the spite worms, kind of like the stove using the flame grizzly parts. I think it used the flame grizzly parts. I'm not entirely sure of that. Kind of like the cooling hat using the ice bat or ice fang bat parts. Do they use spite worm parts? But why? Just a veil, hat with a veil is perfectly fine for repelling insects. And if it's just the power of the worm, then why do you need the veil? Why can't you turn that worm into a bracelet or just a hat or a headband for the same effect? I'm not sure. If you could preserve your ingredients, it would make it easier to cook. Yeah, we can make a fridge. And not just for herself, but she can also start selling those. The way she's selling the stoves. I'm guessing people at the inn who bought the stoves would also like a fridge or two. This I like. This I really like. This character, this dude, really seemed in the previous episode as just an obstacle, right? Just a random ass obstacle. Like during your adventure, the main character is attacked by goblins, and that just serves as an obstacle. There's no goblin camp nearby. It's not a sign of the demon lord returning. It's not, I don't know, a goblin chieftain that evolved and ordered those goblins to go there. It's just a group of random goblins just to make an obstacle. This dude seemed to me like that just group of goblins, just a one-off, essentially. I'm glad he's not. I'm glad there's some continuity introduced here, that he also scammed other people. And perhaps is also gonna scam people in the future. And perhaps is gonna get his comeuppance. That will be interesting. I'm glad to be wrong about him being a one-off. Fangs that give them their name. They don't attack people or animals. They just preserve fruit. They just preserve fruit. Yeah, it's... There is... Maybe not a lot, but there are bits and pieces of like moral ambiguity to this show that I didn't expect. The first taste we got of it was when Sarasa helped the blue one, not Lorelei, not Lore, E E something, the blue one. And when Sarasa helped her, and there was that talk about the price of human life, right? That's like morally gray, morally ambiguous, morally black, one could even say, morally dark. And here we have another example of that. Those bats are just minding their own business. They aren't a pest, they aren't attacking travelers, they're just chilling in a cave. And we go there to kill them, to harvest their body parts. It's one thing with the flame grizzlies, who are an actual active menace. It's another thing with those bats. We just kill them for the sake of getting their ingredients. And it feels a little bit iffy, right? It really does. Although humans do that with animals, right? Pigs, cows, chickens, and animals that are free range, and we hunt them. Fish, we fish them. Fish are just chilling in the water. They aren't invasive. They aren't killing our crops or whatever. They're just chilling, and we fish them out. So that there is that bit of like maybe not necessarily a parallel to our current world, to real world, but bit of that iffiness introduced. Besides that, there's also the fact where, in my honest opinion, right, uh, slaughtering pigs or chickens or cows for meat is different because there is just so many of them held at some farms that they can't possibly go extinct, right? Because there are wild pigs out there, there are wild cows, there are wild chickens and other fowls. Meanwhile, with those bats, for example, and with other species that are being hunted or fished, that really feels iffy to me. The way that killing farm animals doesn't, because you could potentially hunt them to extinction. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I really do bemoan and mourn every single species that was hunted to extinction. It's like one thing when a species goes extinct because, I don't know, the climate got warmer and the fruit they were relying on no longer grew, so they just died off, or because some other species arrived and kicked them out of their niche or whatever. But it's another when you hear of all those species of animals out there who were hunted to extinction. And sometimes it's not even that they were hunted for meat because I know the local people needed to survive, but they were hunted because some random shaman in rural in rural China said that, oh, the left hind leg of this animal cures impotence, and then everybody just went there and hunted that to extinction for their left hind legs to cure impotence. That's like the worst thing, honestly. That people hunt animals not even just for food or for pelt or for resources, but because of some magical mumbo jumbo, like powdered rhino horn apparently is good for something, and it's just stupid. But yeah, I got off track. Let's come back. Yeah, those bats aren't actively malicious, actively aggressive, but that doesn't mean they aren't dangerous, because they can just freeze you to death. There's guano on the floor. This is cool. Airwall magic. And it reminded me of that failed Kickstarter project. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but the gist of it is that someone made a project on Kickstarter, Air Umbrella, I think it was called. Essentially, a pole with a blower at the top that would blow air in directions, right? Like an umbrella, and it would blow away all the droplets of water, so that you would have essentially, so that you would essentially carry just a stick without the like canvas part, and it would serve as an umbrella. Turns out, one, it's not really feasible, because even if you make one such thing with a full-scale fucking leaf blower, it's still not enough air. And two, they took the money and bailed. So this doesn't seem like a scam though. So hey, good for them. They get their own air umbrella. I like this bit of a detail. That she's using some strong smelling ingredients in alchemy, and she has a way to counteract that. I'm not sure why this area was coated in guano, though, if there weren't any bats up top, or maybe they were, we just weren't shown them. Value changes based on their ability to freeze. There is a lot of thought put into the ecosystem, put into the creatures, into their biology and whatnot. How they get progressively older as they get deeper in the cave. That's cool. That's a cool detail. How you can tell their age by their fangs, that they're getting more and more blue, and the stripes appear on them, and they're getting colder to the touch. I really do like it. There's a lot of thought put into that. And yeah, don't touch it, because if you get nicked by it, you end up like this. And it's a very grim picture for a cute girls doing cute things show. But it's not the first time we see that. It's not the first time we see some grim, gruesome visuals and grim, gruesome scenes in this show, and I like it. It's different, right? It has that cutesy aesthetic, but it doesn't stray away from death and gore and pulling out eyeballs and shit like that. That's cool. What's not cool, what I'm not a huge fan of, is her, Iris. Iris is her name. I remember now. I'm not a huge fan of her, honestly. Because, yeah, she's just like kind of stupid for the sake of being stupid in ways that you wouldn't expect her to be. Like, she's an adventurer or whatever. And she's scared of a skeleton? Really? Doesn't she see skeletons daily on her adventures? That seems weird to me. And another thing is, I don't like it when comic relief characters create issues, because it always feels cheap and it always feels artificial. Always. I honestly can't recall an example of a comic relief character that would like not cause issues for the sake of causing issues, I guess. Uh, Not the best description, but what I mean is a comic relief character tries to prank their friend, and they prank their friend, and the friend gets pranked, and that sets off a trap in the ancient ruins they were just exploring, and they fall to a spiky pit or whatever, right? It's just a bit of lol random element that I'm not a fan of, a bit of just forced stupidity, kinda. Like, in this example, for them to wake up the bats, for them to have issues, someone has to be a fucking idiot. If everybody here in this party was smart um, and like restrained, there wouldn't be any issues. Now, I understand that it would make for a more boring maybe story, maybe more boring episode, because they just go in, they hunt some bats, and they get out, and nothing really happened. Whoop-de-doo. But it always feels like a very cheap way to create issues. Someone acts like an idiot and brings down the avalanche. Someone acts like an idiot and activates a trap. Someone acts like an idiot and wakes up the chimera. Someone acts like an idiot and spreads poisonous gas around because they knock over a flask. Right? I don't like it. I really don't. I might be alone in that. And it might just be my personal preference. It is my personal preference. I mean, I'm talking about my preferences here. But it's just something I'm not a huge fan of, and that's why I'm really not a huge fan of Iris. I hope she gets better. I hope she gets developed into an actual good and proper character instead of just being a trigger for traps, because that's like the worst role you can get in a show. She's already a butt of the jokes, She already was the one who wasn't invited to the tea party. She already is the one who was denied a cookie. She already is the one who choked on her food. And now she's also driving issues because of her idiocy. She deserves more. No character ever deserves to be just a pure comic relief. That's the worst fate you can have as a character, honestly. Yeah, they landed just in a cave and can hunt the bats. Now this is fine. This is a good way of creating an issue. She's shooting the bats with a bow and she missed. You sometimes miss. Nothing unusual. She isn't acting like an idiot and trying to miss on purpose. She isn't trying to act she isn't acting like an idiot and trying to suddenly learn how to shoot 5 arrows at once. She isn't acting like an idiot and taunting the bats because, oh, I want challenge, come at me, all the bats. She just missed. And that caused issues in a natural, organic way. Thumbs up for that. Now, I admittedly, one more thing I'm not a huge fan of here, although that's probably just adaptation woes. That's probably just purely that. We are shown that Sarasa alone is just enough. Sarasa can cast magic with like 100% accuracy and take down those bats without an issue. Why does she need an archer to help her? An archer that could potentially miss. To be a little bit faster at that, why do you need to be fast? Who's chasing after you? There's no time limit. And then we have this. Everybody is in a defensive formation, right? The bats are rushing at us. We need to defend ourselves. Sarasa in the middle because she's the most vulnerable. She doesn't have melee weapons, although she can punch them. And we are just protecting her, creating the wall outside. But Sarasa is also creating a wall that just maims those bats as they approach. So why do you need to swing your swords? Just start the wall, sit down, have a picnic, watch as the bats are falling dead around you, and then just gather the corpses and move out. Why put the effort if magic can just snap them out of existence? But as I said, it's probably adaptation woes. In the light novel, in the original source material, there probably was a passage or a paragraph or a couple about how the wall can protect them and it can repel the bats, but those bats will not die. They will get out and they will return with more ferocity, and she can't keep up that wall for all that long, and some of the bats can wake up other ones, and then we're gonna be in a trouble, so you're gonna have to cut them down. I'm gonna focus on defense, you focus on attack. That's probably how it was. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the source material. But from what it looks like here, she could just rev up the wind wall and they could just go play some cards and just wait for the thing to blow over. Yeah, we can break off the fangs with super gloves that need just a little bit of magic energy. That's interesting because I guess it's a matter of scale. I'm coming back again to the pump. We were told that it needs magic power to run, and I was under the impression then that only like alchemists or magicians have enough magic power to actually do something with it. Ordinary people don't. But it seems like ordinary people do have just a little bit of magic power, enough to like keep those gloves running, but perhaps not enough to start up the pump. Which makes sense. It's perfectly fine, perfectly valid. I'm just glad I got that. I think I got that. Splitting evenly. I'm glad that it seems, although I'm not sure, I'm not sure if those ears and wings are just decoration, or is it like actually prepared and tanned bats' wings and ears of those bats. Because if it's the latter, cool. Waste not wasting all the resources. We can use the fangs to make refrigerators, but we can use the wings and ears to make hats, and we can use the spleens to make nice refreshing cold drink, and we can use the pelts to make, I don't know, burn medicine, right? Things like that. If they really just took the fangs and she made those hats using those fangs and just decided to stick some bat parts on them, on one hand, kind of cute, not gonna lie. On the other, why? Oh, just a thought. Uh, yeah, cooling hats, gloves. I hurried up and made them. Yeah, everybody trusts her. She already has a trusted clientele. That's important to establishing yourself as any sort of a specialist, really. Whether you're trying to be a lawyer or a doctor or a carpenter or whatever, other people's opinion of you matters a lot. Your reputation. You need to build that up. If you're completely unknown, people are unlikely to choose you unless you really lower your prices. And then as you build up uh, your standing, I guess I forgot the word, but yeah, as you build that up, as you build yourself up, then you can start increasing prices perhaps, because people are gonna come to you for your reputation alone. Reputation, that's the word I was missing. You get perfect timing when it comes to showing off your wares. She does. She really does. Just, oh, we're gathering those fangs that would be really bad if they catch you. But thankfully, I have those magical gloves, only $95.99, and you get a coffee maker free with every purchase. Order now. Call 1700 Alchemist and order your pair of gloves now. If you do that now, right this instant, until this ad is over, you also get a free cooling hat. That's right, free cooling hat that normally retails for $95.58. Right? She really does a way of doing that, has a way of doing that, and I like it. I really do. I do enjoy that. Worms, she's not great with worms, that's cool. That's a nifty detail. Uh, I'm not sure if I'm missing something, if I'm missing some joke, if I'm missing maybe some cultural thing, like maybe there's some Japanese demon or ghost or spirit that manifests as a bunch of gloves or something and it's supposed to be scary. I'm not getting the reaction. I guess that's it about this bit. I'm just not getting it. Not positive, not negative. I'm just not getting that. Insect repellent veils are selling really well. Well, of course, they're working in the field, and probably some of them work with bees. I wouldn't be surprised if people here did have their beehives to make some honey. So of course they would sell well. And the cooling hats and everything sells well, because she really knows what the local populace wants. And that's good. That's the first part of a successful business. Perfect fit, brand new fridge. I hardly ever make them my... Oh, you're right. Scream, oh no, scary, scary gloves. Yeah, that's an issue with a self-sufficient city, isn't it? The money never leaves. The money never leaves. The baker buys some grain from the farmer. The farmer spends that money to buy a dinner at the inn. The innkeeper spends that money to buy bread from the baker. It's just a closed loop. Nobody can grow much more rich than the others. Nobody can grow much more poor because it's a closed loop essentially. They need that outside influence. They need to be buying things from the outside. Problem is they don't need them really. Besides maybe some luxuries here and there, they need to sell their things outside to bring them money. They need to become a part of like a wider network of trade. That's good thinking. That's very good thinking. I like how it's just a somewhat expensive cookie. It's not just like a really expensive cookie. It's not like super special limited edition pudding. It's a somewhat expensive cookie, and it's still like the best they ever had because they're only eating regular cookies because that's all there is in the village. Nobody makes super special cookies. Yeah, they've established a lifestyle where you don't need money because all your needs are met, with you never really growing any poorer, but never growing any richer either. So you need to shake it up. You need outside influence. You need to be selling something on the outside. Yeah, Laura gets 2 cookies because she's just so cute. The wife gets all the treats. You need to put work into what you're thinking of, but my wife gets everything. That's great. I love it. You've been making the hot portions of the cooling hats, yeah? That doesn't need alchemy. That's cool. That's cool because, again, all this time I was under the impression that she would just like pour in some water, pour in some, I don't know, acetone, throw in some fangs and a couple of flowers, stir it up, stir it the other direction, and out comes the hat. Uh, Maybe that's the case, actually, I don't know. But it's cool to see that the hat itself doesn't need to be made by alchemical means. The same way, I guess, the stove, for example, or the fridge, they don't need to be made using alchemy, they just need to be made to work using alchemy. The stove without alchemy is just a not working stove. The fridge without alchemy is just a not working fridge. You just add alchemy on top. That's cool. Yeah, I'll eventually hit the maximum limit of sales. Exactly. When everybody has a stove, you're not gonna sell more stoves. When everybody has a hat, you're not gonna sell more hats. So, you need to sell on the outside. Indeed. And you'll need some cool designs. Villagers could make the hats on their own and set prices for them. That's cool. She's not like buying them at fixed price. I know 500 ria per hat or whatever. But if someone wants to make a fancy hat, they're gonna sell it to Sarasa for a bit more money. If someone makes just a simple donut, they're gonna sell it for less money. Makes perfect sense. Sarasa adds additional cost on top for the cooling ability and sells that and gives the villagers their part. Or rather, how does it look? How does it work, rather? Does she buy the hat first and then enchants it and sells it, or does she split the price after the sale? I think she splits the price after the sale. She gets the flat like 4,000 rea, and the rest goes to whoever made the hat. I think that's how it works. Because yeah, we wouldn't get paid if the hats don't sell. So yeah, that's the way it's going. So won't end in losses for the villagers. Uh, it could potentially, but that's the thing. It will also result in losses for Sarasa because she's spending money in resources to make the cooling functionality. She's spending her time, her know-how, her R&D, I guess, also. So the villagers, or rather, Sarasa succeeds only when the whole shtick succeeds, and the villagers succeed only when the whole shtick succeeds. So it's not that Sarasa can exploit them in any way, shape, or form. if the business fails, she fails with the villagers. She doesn't get a golden parachute, essentially. That's good. That's cool. Reminds me of the pricing model of Unreal Engine, kinda. That's like the first thought that came to my head, where they take a percentage of your sales above 1 million, so they get money only when you're successful. They succeed only when you succeed. If you fail, they also fail. They get no money from you. And yeah, everybody got to making hats, all sorts of styles. That's a distinctly metallic sound. What's it made of, though? It sounds metallic. Is it like strips of brass woven together? Something? I don't know. It's cool though, because yeah, they can be making gear for adventurers. That's a business to get into. Protective gloves, protective helmets, uh, I know, bags of holding, things like that. They would buy out instantly. And also, the market will never be saturated because the adventurers sometimes might need to just run for their lives and leave their luggage. Their gloves or their helmets or whatever might get destroyed. It has a certain amount of resistance, of resilience, so it's gonna get destroyed sooner or later. So you can keep selling those things. That's a market to tap into. Like, sure, cooling hats and insect veils and all that jazz, that's fine and all, but I would honestly focus on the adventurers, not so much on just selling hats. Sure, if she wants to make cooling hats the Oak Village specialty, that's perfectly fine. But how much business is in that exactly? Not to mention, York Village is kinda remote. So are people gonna be coming here specifically to buy the hat? Are they gonna make the journey just to buy a hat? Perhaps the next step is to set up a stall in the big city. Stall or buy out a shop and set up in there. Hire one of the villagers, for example, to handle that store. You can stay here in a remote village and make all that stuff. Then once a week you move the shipment to the city where it gets distributed to more people. It's a big city, so not only the locals, but it's also a hub of commerce. People from other large cities arrive there, and they can see that hat. I'm starting to think like Sarasa. But yeah, that's something you can do. You can just move distribution to a bigger city. That would be cool. That would be cool. I really do like, as I mentioned, I mostly use that term referring to isekais. I call them building isekai, just a kind of a stupid name, but it really refers to what I mean very well. And it's all sorts of isekais where there's one manga I'm reading right now. A dude won a lottery and found a passage to a different world. So he, for example, buys like a refrigerator and a generator and a set of fuel and some crops and whatnot, and an ATV, and just moves them to the other world and like helps elevate the village he arrived to a new degree. And there's one more. Galactic Commander something something something, where a dude lands on a planet, crash lands, kind of sorta, and it's a fantasy planet with magic and all, and he starts building up a guild, an adventurers guild, essentially, his own group, and eventually with the goal of turning it into a city, into a country, and growing that. This is not an isekai, but it gives me very much the same vibes. A character who is somehow special gets placed in an unremarkable, boring, stale location and starts using their abilities to elevate that place, right? Automate uh, getting water, automate something else, use their knowledge of chemistry to create fertilizer, things like that. This is not an isekai again, but it falls into the same vein, and I'm a huge fan of that. If they're really gonna go in that direction, instead of eventually straying into killing the demon lord, I'd rather not. If they focus on developing this city and developing the commerce with other cities, and making this village like a commercial hub, maybe to some degree, if not for all the people, then at least for adventurers, maybe. Go there, please. I'm gonna love that. Potion sales 39k. Refrigerator, spite worms, frostfang bats. Frostfang bat fang purchases. Why did she buy them? Did she like split them evenly across the adventurers and then she bought their share? I think that's what she did. Ingredients purchased from gatherers. Okay, that's a sum of those. Cooling hat sales, insect repellent veil sales, debt payment from Iris and Kate. That's a lot of debt paid. I'm guessing some of that comes from the Frostfang bat purchases. She bought fangs from Iris and Kate. I don't know. I'm not sure. Still, she's in the red this time around, but she's gonna be in the black soon enough. I hope. I think. Maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. That was episode 5 of Shinmai Renkinjutsushi no Tenpo Keiei. And I'm liking where it's going. I really am. Not counting those couple of rough moments that are just essentially just down to my preference or down to adaptation woes. The overall direction of the story, the overall events, the overall vibe of everything, I'm really liking, I'm really enjoying. What else to say? Yeah, I really hope they're gonna go in the direction of building up the village and turning it into something. Again, maybe not a commercial hub of the continent, but at least of a place that is known for that one cute alchemist that makes all that cool shit, and you can go there and buy that. And it might be worth the journey eventually. That's gonna be cool. That's gonna be cool when she revitalizes the village, revitalizes the area. I hope that's where it goes, instead of going in the direction of killing the demon lord eventually, because there's an awful lot of my slow life in another world, or I got gifted an orphanage and I'm raising orphans now, but demon lord, I need to kill the demon lord, even though I'm just a caretaker of the orphanage, but I'm super special somehow, and my orphans are super special, and we're gonna take down the demon lord. Uh, please don't make stories like that. Like, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, what to not do. You might not even understand English because you're a Japanese author of light novels in the first place. But more of that slow life that's actually fucking slow life, instead of just seeking the excitement, seeking the thrill of big, greater than life issues. Anything else? I think that's it. Art, design, as unremarkable as ever. I think maybe even a little better than in the previous episodes. I'm not sure. I can't entirely put my finger on that. But I didn't notice anything particularly egregiously bad about it this time around. So either it's getting better, or I'm just getting desensitized, or I just stopped caring, and that's good because I can enjoy the content without being bothered by some poor Photoshop of a shelf somewhere in the background. Uh, yeah, that's gonna be it, I think, from me for right now. But maybe you have something to add, and if you do, tell me in the comments down below what did you think of this episode, my reaction, my theories. No spoilers, please, I beg of you. I want to experience it all myself, completely and utterly blind. If you do want to talk spoilers, Discord here, also in the description. Join it, join the channel made for this show specifically, and talk spoilers using spoiler tags. And I'm not gonna see them. Currently in the Gundam channel, there's like a wall of spoilers because people are discussing episode 6. I haven't seen it, I'm not gonna click spoilers, I'm not gonna get spoiled. Everybody wins. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you disliked it, but tell me why so I can improve. Subscribe to that channel to be notified of future releases of not only Novice Alchemist but also Symphogear Axis, Arknight's Prelude to Dawn, Madoka Magica, the movie that I'm gonna be watching sometimes soon, aforementioned Gundam Witch from Mercury, and also the Sword Isekai. And I also stream sometimes. Recently been streaming Stulti Varanavi event in Arknights, so might wanna check that out and might wanna stay subscribed and click the bell to be notified for whenever I go live. Support the channel if you want monetarily. Patreon Throne links in the description below, and if you don't want to spend any money, you can just share my account and spread the word. That really does help a lot. On Patreon, for $10 a month, you get early access to non-seasonal shows like Symphogear, like Madoka, and for just $1, you get a role on the Discord, and you also get a place in the credits that you will be seeing very, very shortly. On Throne, you can pitch in directly towards my purchase of better camera, better lighting, stuff like that, and if you don't want to spend any money, you can share the content, spread the word. That also helps a lot. Already said that. So, right now, that's gonna be it from me for today. So, as always, you guys do all the good stuff, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Cheers. And here's the list of supporters, and you can make it onto this list without using alchemy or something.